August 19, 1921, Yankee Stadium. Babe Ruth steps to the plate. 60,000 fans hold their breath. The pitcher winds up. Ruth swings. The ball rockets into the right field bleachers. Home run. The crowd explodes. That single swing changed baseball forever. Before Ruth, the game was about bunting and stolen bases and scratching out one run at a time. After Ruth, baseball became America's obsession. Power, home runs, excitement. But here's what most people don't realize. That moment was just one chapter in a story that spans over 150 years. A story filled with cheating and heroism, racism and redemption, scandals that nearly destroyed the game and players who saved it. Dynasties built on talent and dynasties built on drugs. Players who made $6,000 a year and players who signed $700 million contracts. I'm about to take you through all of it. Every major era in baseball history, what defined each period, who dominated, what changed the game forever. And I promise you this, the final section of this video will completely change how you think about where baseball is heading. Stick around for that. 15 minutes, 150 years of baseball. Let's go. The dead ball era. Roughly 1900 to 1920. This is where professional baseball found its first identity. And it looked nothing like the game you watch today. Imagine a baseball game where the final score is 1-0, where a team hitting 3 home runs in an entire season is considered powerful, where the same baseball stays in play for the entire game, getting darker and softer with every inning until it's brown and lopsided and almost impossible to see. That was dead ball era baseball, dominated by pitchers in ways that seem almost impossible now. Cy Young won 511 games in his career. Read that number again. 511 wins. That record will never be broken, ever. In today's game, a pitcher who wins 250 games is a guaranteed Hall of Famer. Cy Young nearly doubled that. He started games, he finished games, complete games every single time. No pitch counts, no bullpens. You took the mound, you finished what you started. Walter Johnson threw a fastball they called the big train. Batters said they couldn't see it. They just heard it hit the catcher's mitt. Christy Mathewson had pinpoint control, painting corners like an artist. And then there was Three-Finger Brown. He lost 2 fingers in a farming accident as a kid. Most people would consider that career-ending. Instead, it made his curveball unhittable. The ball came out of his hand differently than any other pitcher. Batters had never seen movement like that. But here's the dirty secret of the dead ball era. These pitchers cheated, legally. The spitball was completely allowed. Pitchers could spit tobacco juice on the ball, rub it in the dirt, scuff it with sandpaper, hidden in their gloves. They could do whatever they wanted to make that ball move in unpredictable ways. And because the same ball stayed in play for 9 innings, by the late innings hitters were swinging at something that looked more like a rotten potato than a baseball. Ty Cobb defined hitting in this era. Career batting average of .366, still the highest ever among qualified players. But Cobb didn't hit home runs. He didn't need to. He slapped singles through the infield. He bunted for base hits. He stole bases with a fury that terrified opponents. And he played dirty. Cobb sharpened his spikes and slid into bases trying to cut defenders. He fought fans in the stands. He was baseball's first villain. Talented beyond measure, hated by almost everyone. This era was about strategy. Small ball, hit and run plays, sacrifice bunts, manufacturing runs 1 base at a time. It was chess, not checkers. Then 1919 happened, and baseball almost died. The Black Sox scandal. 8 Chicago White Sox players conspired with gamblers to intentionally lose the World Series against the Cincinnati Reds. Shoeless Joe Jackson, Eddie Saccott, Chick Gondel. They took money from gamblers and they threw games. The fix was in, and when it came out, America was devastated. Baseball wasn't just a sport, it was America's pastime, and it had been corrupted. All 8 players were banned for life. Shoeless Joe Jackson, one of the greatest hitters who ever lived, never played again. The game's reputation was in ruins. Fans stopped believing what they were watching was real. Baseball needed saving. It needed a hero. It needed someone to make people fall in love with the game again. It needed Babe Ruth. The Babe Ruth era, 1920 to 1941, everything changed. And I mean everything. Babe Ruth didn't just play baseball differently. He invented a new sport. Before Ruth, home runs were rare. Teams hit maybe 20 or 30 in an entire season. Ruth looked at that and laughed. In 1920, his first year with the Yankees, he hit 54 home runs by himself. The second-place team in home runs that year hit 50. One man out-homered entire rosters. The game transformed overnight. Baseball outlawed the spitball in 1920. They introduced a livelier ball that traveled farther when hit, and they started replacing balls during games instead of using the same beaten-up sphere for 9 innings. Offense exploded. Games that used to end 1-0 now ended 10-8. Fans packed stadiums not to watch pitchers dominate, but to watch Babe Ruth swing. Every at-bat was an event. 1927, Ruth hit 60 home runs, a record that stood for 34 years. Think about how long that is. Wars were fought. Presidents came and went. The entire world changed, and nobody could touch what Babe Ruth did. The Yankees became a dynasty. Ruth and Lou Gehrig formed the most fearsome 1-2 punch in baseball history. Gehrig was incredible in his own right. He played 2,130 consecutive games, hit .340 for his career. But he lived in Ruth's shadow. Everyone did. They called Yankee Stadium the house that Ruth built. And it was true. Ruth's popularity built that stadium. His home runs paid for it. His legend defined it. But here's the dark truth of this era that most people don't talk about. While Babe Ruth was saving baseball for white America, an entire population of players was being ignored. Baseball was segregated. Black players weren't allowed in the major leagues. It didn't matter how talented you were. The door was closed, so black players formed their own leagues, the Negro Leagues. And the talent there was extraordinary. Josh Gibson. They called him the Black Babe Ruth. Some who saw both play said Ruth should have been called the White Josh Gibson. Satchel Paige might have been the greatest pitcher who ever lived. Cool Papa Bell was so fast that teammates joked he could turn off the light switch and be in bed before the room got dark. These players never got to compete against the best white players. Their legacies are shadowed by what-ifs, and baseball was incomplete because of it. That was about to change, and what happened next might be the most important moment in American sports history. The integration period. 1947 to 1960. Jackie Robinson broke the color barrier. April 15, 1947. Brooklyn Dodgers versus the Boston Braves. Robinson stepped onto the field, and nothing in baseball would ever be the same. Branch Rickey, the Dodgers president, chose Robinson specifically, not because he was the best player in the Negro Leagues, he wasn't, but because Rickey knew whoever broke the barrier would face hatred that most people couldn't imagine. He needed someone with the temperament to withstand it, someone who wouldn't fight back. Robinson was educated, a college athlete at UCLA, a military veteran. Rickey made him promise not to retaliate for 3 years. No matter what happened, no matter what was said, Robinson agreed, and they tested him every single day. Death threats arrived at his home. Fans screamed racial slurs from the stands. Pitchers threw at his head deliberately. Hotels refused to let him stay with his teammates. Restaurants refused to serve him. His own teammates circulated a petition trying to get him removed from the team. Robinson didn't fight back, he played. He hit .297 as a rookie, won Rookie of the Year, led the Dodgers to the World Series, changed everything. Not with his fists, with his bat, with his glove, with his dignity. After Robinson, the floodgates opened. Larry Doby integrated the American League months later. Roy Campanella joined the Dodgers. The greatest generation of black players entered all at once. Willie Mays debuted in 1951. The Say Hey Kid. He could do everything. Hit for average, hit for power, run the bases, throw runners out from center field. Many consider him the greatest all-around player in baseball history. Mickey Mantle debuted the same year. Power from both sides of the plate. A 565-foot home run that's still talked about today. Hank Aaron arrived in 1954. Quiet, consistent, unassuming. He just kept hitting. Year after year. Nobody thought he'd break Ruth's record. Aaron wasn't flashy. He just accumulated 755 career home runs, while receiving death threats for daring to pass a white man's record. Teams that integrated early dominated. The Dodgers won 6 pennants in 10 years. Teams that waited suffered. The Red Sox didn't integrate until 1959, last team in baseball. They didn't win for decades afterward. Integration proved baseball had been incomplete. The game got better, stronger, more competitive, and it changed America along with it. The expansion era. 1961 to 1976. Baseball grew. New teams, new stadiums, new markets, new problems. 1961. The American League expanded from 8 teams to 10. The schedule went from 154 games to 162. Roger Maris hit 61 home runs that year, broke Babe Ruth's single-season record, but instead of celebration, Maris got an asterisk. Commissioner Ford Frick declared that Maris's record should be considered separate because he had 8 extra games to do it. The controversy followed Maris for the rest of his life. His hair fell out from the stress. He was booed in his own stadium. He broke the most famous record in sports and was treated like a cheater. More expansion followed. Mets, Astros, baseball spread west. The game was becoming national. But expansion diluted talent. More teams meant the same players spread thinner. Until 1968. They called it the year of the pitcher. Bob Gibson posted a 1.12 ERA. Denny McLain won 31 games. Carl Yastrzemski won the batting title, hitting .301. That was the league leader. Baseball panicked. 1969. They lowered the mound from 15 inches to 10 inches, created divisions, created playoffs. Before '69, only pennant winners made the postseason. Now 4 teams had a chance. More games, more drama, more money. But players weren't seeing that money. Owners controlled everything. That injustice was about to explode. The free agency era, 1976 to 1993. This era changed baseball from a sport into a business. Curt Flood challenged baseball's reserve clause in 1970, lost his case, but planted seeds. 1975, an arbitrator ruled players could become free agents. The reserve clause was dead. Players could finally choose where to work. Salaries exploded. Reggie Jackson signed with the Yankees for $3 million over 5 years, massive at the time. He backed it up immediately. 1977 World Series. Game 6. Jackson hit 3 home runs on 3 consecutive pitches from 3 different pitchers. They called him Mr. October. George Steinbrenner turned the Yankees into the evil empire, spending whatever it took, winning championships through financial force. Incredible players emerged. Mike Schmidt, maybe the greatest third baseman ever. 548 home runs, 3 MVPs. Rickey Henderson stole 1,406 bases, a record that's absolutely untouchable. Cal Ripken broke Gehrig's consecutive game streak, 2,632 straight games, another unbreakable record. But 1994, disaster. The players went on strike, the World Series was canceled. First time since 1904, fans were furious, betrayed. Baseball's popularity cratered. The game needed saving again. It needed excitement. Be careful what you wish for. The steroid era, mid-1990s to mid-2000s. Home runs saved baseball, but they came with a price that's still being paid today. After the strike, baseball was desperate. Fans were angry. Attendance was down. The sport needed a spectacle. 1998, Mark McGwire versus Sammy Sosa. The home run chase. All summer long, America watched 2 sluggers assault Roger Maris's record. McGwire's forearms looked like tree trunks. Sosa's body had transformed from skinny speedster to hulking masher. They were on every magazine cover. McGwire finished with 70 home runs. Sosa hit 66. The record was shattered. Fans packed stadiums again. Baseball was saved. But something was wrong. Everyone could see it. McGwire had androstenedione in his locker. A reporter saw it. Nobody cared. The home runs were too exciting. The money was too good. Then, Barry Bonds happened. Bonds was already a Hall of Famer before steroids. 3 MVP awards, over 400 home runs, over 400 stolen bases. But McGwire and Sosa were getting all the attention, so Bonds joined them. Balco. His body transformed. 2001, 73 home runs. At age 36. Impossible numbers fueled by impossible drugs. It wasn't just them. Roger Clemens won Cy Youngs in his 40s. Rafael Palmeiro pointed at Congress and said he never used steroids, period.
My name is Rafael Palmeiro, and I am a professional baseball player. Let me start by telling you this. I have never used steroids today.
Tested positive 4 months later. The Mitchell Report named 89 players. The scope of cheating was staggering. Bonds finished with 762 home runs, 7 MVPs, not in the Hall of Fame. Clemens won 354 games, not in the Hall of Fame. Many fans consider Aaron's 755 the real record. The steroid era is baseball's shame. The sport turned a blind eye because home runs made money. But baseball was about to find a new obsession, one that didn't require needles, just spreadsheets. The Moneyball era, early 2000s to mid-2010s. Michael Lewis wrote Moneyball about Billy Beane and the Oakland Athletics, a small market team with no money competing against the Yankees. Beane's solution was revolutionary. Ignore what scouts said, trust the numbers. On-base percentage mattered more than batting average. Walks were undervalued. 2002, the Athletics won 20 games in a row with a fraction of the Yankees' payroll. The nerds had proven data could beat dollars. Big market teams noticed. The Red Sox hired Bill James. Theo Epstein became general manager. 2004, broke an 86-year curse. The Cubs used analytics to end a 108-year drought in 2016. Exit velocity, launch angle, spin rate. Every aspect of the game was measured and optimized. But analytics made baseball predictable. The 3 true outcomes dominated. Walk, strikeout, home run. Strikeouts skyrocketed. Games became boring. Action decreased. Something had to change. And here's where the story gets fascinating. Here's the section I promised would change how you think about baseball. The modern era, 2020 to present. Baseball is reinventing itself, and this time, it might actually work. The game had become unwatchable for casual fans. 3-hour games with constant pitching changes, strikeouts dominating every at-bat, shifts turning hits into outs, young fans choosing basketball and football instead. Baseball was becoming a sport for old people. 2023, Major League Baseball introduced the most dramatic rule changes in a century. Pitch clock, 15 seconds with nobody on base, 20 seconds with runners on. Games dropped from 3 hours to 2.5, faster, crisper, more watchable. Bigger bases, 15 inches became 18 inches. Stolen bases increased dramatically. Action returned to the base paths. The shift was banned. Only 2 infielders allowed on each side. Batting averages rose, balls in play increased. The results were immediate and stunning. Ronald Acuna Jr., 2023, 41 home runs, 73 stolen bases, the first 40-70 season in baseball history. Nobody had ever done that. Speed and power combined at a level never before seen. But even Acuna isn't the biggest story. That belongs to someone doing something that hasn't been done in 100 years. Shohei Ohtani, a pitcher who hits, a hitter who pitches, and not just competently, elite at both. All-star level at both. This doesn't happen. It hasn't happened since Babe Ruth. Ruth was a great pitcher before he became a great hitter. But even Ruth stopped pitching once he started hitting home runs. Everyone said it was impossible to do both at a major league level. Ohtani didn't care what everyone said. 2021. He made the All-Star team as both a pitcher and a hitter. First player ever. 46 home runs, while posting a 3.18 ERA. Impossible. He did it anyway. 2023. Even better. 10 wins as a pitcher, 44 home runs as a hitter. Then he signed $700 million with the Dodgers, the largest contract in North American sports history. The game is globalizing. The 2023 World Baseball Classic was electric. The final came down to Japan versus the United States. Ohtani on the mound facing Mike Trout. Ohtani struck him out to win it. The moment went viral worldwide. Juan Soto, Ellie De La Cruz, Gunnar Henderson. The next generation is spectacular. So where does this leave us? What have we learned from 150 years of baseball? The dead ball era proved pitching could dominate. Ruth proved one player could transform a sport. Integration proved talent knows no color. Free agency proved players deserve fair pay. Steroids proved greed corrupts. Moneyball proved intelligence beats money. The modern era proves baseball can adapt. The game has been pronounced dead a dozen times. After the Black Sox, after the strikes, after steroids, every generation has its crisis. Every generation has its savior. Ruth saved baseball with home runs. Robinson saved it with courage. The home run chase saved it with excitement, even if tainted. Now Ohtani and Acuna might be saving it again. 150 years, thousands of players, hundreds of rule changes, countless scandals and triumphs. And the game keeps going, keeps evolving, keeps surviving. That's baseball. That's what it does. That's what it's always done. The next era is being written right now. Maybe it'll be defined by international expansion, maybe by new technology, maybe by a player we haven't seen yet. But whatever comes, baseball will adapt. Baseball will endure, because that's the one constant in 150 years of change. The game always finds a way. Hit subscribe for more baseball history breakdowns, the legends who built this sport, the stories you've never heard, the moments that changed everything. More coming soon.